it's being reported by Daniel RPK and other insiders on Twitter that Spider-Man 4 is going to be, quote, a street-level civil war. And Jessica Joe, Echo, Kate Bishop might appear. Ant-Man is rumored to appear. Daredevil is going to be a major character in the story. It's a Spider-Man-centric story. Reportedly, Wilson Fisk is the mayor of New York City, creates a law that bans vigilantes, and then gets supervillains to try to hunt them down. So it's like Batman Arkham Origins meets Spectacular Spider-Man. But okay, number one, I get that you need to have characters from the MCU and Spider-Man films. Like, I get it. But a part of me was like, can we just get a Spider-Man like movie with just Spider-Man characters like Flash Thompson and Gwen, you know, or we have the games for that. So maybe the MCU stuff is inevitable, but I think it would be cool to have a Wilson Fisk try to take everything away from Peter Parker after he already had everything taken away from him by Green Goblin.
New York is more than just like a city in the Spider-Man universe. Like you say, New York's like a character in itself. It doesn't feel like we've had that in the MCU at all.
Hello, everybody. Thank you for tuning in to another episode of the Invincibles podcast with your hosts. You know me, I'm Zan.
I'm Oli.
And let's get into it, man. A lot of crazy news has been kind of hitting the end of the year in terms of the nerdum circles. Let's start out with Jonathan Majors, bro. The news is reported that Jonathan Majors was convicted of third-degree assault and harassment, right? Or stalking. One of those things. I think it was
harassment, yeah.
Okay. What are your thoughts on that, honestly? Like, we saw the videos, we saw the text, we saw the proof. Like, what's your takeaway?
He's got to be one of the quickest like rises and falls from grace, if that's the right word, in recent memory. Because like I remember we even spoke about him on a very early episode of the podcast when Creed 3 came out, and we loved that film. We spoke about it as one of the best Rocky films. We praised his performance because he was phenomenal in that, and then he literally had the world at his feet, and then he just because he's an abusive arsehole, he just threw it all away. Like, obviously, we do feel obviously sorry for the people that he abused, but he's just a stupid guy. He's so stupid. And obviously, this isn't the most important thing, but we've got to speak about it from a nerd perspective because that's what we do on here. Marvel are in a tough position now as well. They've got to somehow they were going to build the entire next 10 years of the franchise around this guy, and then he's gone and done this. So they've got a task on their hands. But the important thing is, he's been charged.
And he will be convicted in February for a specific sentence, potentially up to a year in prison.
Mm-hmm.
I think we'll get to that, what's going on with the MCU. But going back to the MCU, I thought this decision was delayed. Yeah. Marvel should have cut ties with him instantly. And I know people will say, oh, innocent until proven guilty. Like, bro, there were texts of him threatening suicide. And if you study cases of narcissistic abuse, that is very common. That is very common throughout whatever your gender is, whatever your culture is, whatever your socioeconomic standing in life is. Throughout all of those patterns, you look at the data. That is very common. Threatening suicide is very common in narcissistic abuse. They were sending texts of him like saying, I have an item right here. I'm about to end myself right now. Claiming the guilt on her. That's very narcissistic because if you actually do that and you actually commit to that act, that is something that the receiving person on the other side who you send that message to will never be able to get over, dude. Like, imagine somebody saying you're the reason I offed myself, and then they actually did it. Like, that's horrifying. That's very narcissistic. The evidence were there from the cops, the testimony, and witnesses as well. I'm very hesitant to take the side of the police, especially in America. There is a reputation of, I'm just going to say it, uh, white women demonizing black men for crimes they don't commit. That's very common here. So when the Jonathan Majors stuff, excuse me, first came out, that's honestly the first thought I was thinking. I was like, oh God, like I hope he's innocent. But then you see the videos, you see the texts, you see the injuries, like he did it. More importantly, you go on Twitter, you remember when this was happening? All of the dirt
Mhm.
sheets about how he was acting in university, how he treated other people, how he was on the sets of other films. Many people anonymously, with evidence, with receipts, by the way, were saying how Jonathan Majors abused and treated other people backstage. So there is a pattern of behavior with this guy. I say
Yeah.
that all I say that to say there's absolutely no way Marvel and Disney didn't know about it, but I also understand in the film industry there's a lot of dark stuff we don't know, and that will continue
Mhm.
to not be known because money making is the priority. If you're going to hire an abuser who's going to make you billions, that's probably what they're going to do as long as it's under the rug. Fortunately for us, and unfortunately for that bozo, this was something under the rug you just couldn't crease out. And I my heart goes to the victims, the ex-girlfriend. It's not right. It's not right. It's not okay. And Marvel, they should have cut ties earlier. I will give them credit from at least actually got rid of him. DC's
Yeah.
cowardly and they stood by Ezra Miller, but he doesn't deserve any sympathy. And going next to the Marvel side of things, talking about what are they going to do? Are the rumors true? Are the legal contractual obligation where only he could play Kang? Is that true?
Oh, I don't know. I've not heard about
It's like all
that.
over
Oh,
Twitter.
that's terrible. That's a terrible decision on their part if that's true. Like even if you absolutely banking on an actor and you think they're going to be the future, you don't do something like that, surely.
There, I don't know if it's a rumor, but that's what everybody is saying is Jonathan Majors has a contract clause that only he can play Kang.
Oh no. I did I did see a fake rumor before that Ryan Gosling was going to play Kang.
No,
I'm just Kang.
no. You see the meme of Ryan Gosling as Black Panther. It's like people have been saying that, and it's like it's finally happening. It's like, oh my God, that'll be funny. But what do they do with Kang? I think Jonathan Majors. I do find that true. You look at Loki season 1, Loki season 2. You look at Ant-Man.
Mhm.
There is a pattern of him just playing a different version of the character and unfortunately doing it well. So like there is a precedent of him just playing the same character. They haven't introduced any variants. If they were, or excuse me, variants that look different. If they were, I'd imagine that would be like a surprise type deal. So I guess what I'm saying is I wouldn't be surprised if he is contracted to play King, to only play King. But if that's the case, Ollie, I think they need to drop King altogether.
Oh,
This is a loser who lost to Ant-Man, bro. Like, come on, we don't need him. He's on an Avengers
I
level.
forgot about that.
Like,
I
you get
forgot about that. I
like
forgot
you
about
lost,
Quantumania. Yeah.
like you lost to Ant-Man.
In the most pathetic way as well.
Yeah, like, and then you can explain him being rewritten out of existence because Loki, right? Maybe Loki sacrifices glorious purposes to make sure that he's pruning out the Kangs before they get there.
Yeah. They've got now that they've introduced the concept of the multiverse, they do have sort of a way that they can get out of situations quite easily. So there is ways they can do it and have it make sense. Um, which is good. But I think it is possible for them to do a route where it is Kang, but he looks different if legally they can do that, if somehow. Because like that scene at the end of Quantumania, it might have been in a post-credit scene where they have all the Kangs in that stadium. All of them do look like Jonathan Majors, but you could start Kang Dynasty or start however they introduce Kang, like the next Kang anyway, have a shot of that same stadium but just with loads of different looking ones, and it's just like another angle or whatever. I don't know. That's a way they could do it, I suppose. Because in that shot there is like thousands of them. So it would make sense for there to be a few that don't look like him.
Yeah. I mean, but do you want Kang? I'm not gonna lie, like I don't find Kang interesting as a character. So like, do you even want Kang?
I think. Oh, I don't know. I think he's interesting in the fact that like he's. Well, the Kang that we saw in Quantumania, he was meant to be like a really, like a powerful guy who'd killed Avengers and stuff like that. So like another Thanos level threat. I think it's interesting from that perspective, but something I really want. Maybe I think they were planning on doing this in what's the one after Kang Dynasty, Secret Wars. I don't know if they were planning on doing this then or later down the line, but just do Galactus already. If you're going to bring in the X-Men with Deadpool 3, just do Galactus.
Does Galactus have ties? I'm not gonna lie. I don't know anything about X-Men. The only thing I know is Wolverine. So diehard X-Men.
No, it's Fantastic Four. He has ties to, isn't it?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, no mistake. But if the Deadpool 3 is like combining universes and that, and yeah, I think introduce Fantastic Four, introduce X-Men, and have Galactus as the big villain.
I think I'm okay. Let me look at it from a more meta perspective. Do you think the superhero business industry is kind of shifting away from big team up movies?
I think it should. I think it definitely should, because I think we've had enough of them now, and with there being so many of them, you don't get the opportunity to tell real stories about like the characters, and it makes all the characters standalone movies less about the character and more about setting up the big team up movie. Like Quantumania, there was an angle with Scott's daughter, but like we didn't really learn anything about Scott. I don't think he really developed as a character whatsoever in that movie, and he was just a device to further the story with Kang along, and it wasn't about Ant-Man at all. So I think less team up movies, more individual stories about these characters, because that's what we want.
I think so that's what I'm saying. Does Avengers need to have like this combination of the Fox universe and the Fantastic Four and the MCU versus like it would be cool, but I'm saying like it seems forced to me. All right, like Kang is there now. Jonathan Majors is out. They're saying like, oh, okay, we need a multiverse. Like, and I'm saying like, do you? I mean, it would be cool. I might be biting my tongue, but I think there'd be cooler ideas that they could do. I think this would never happen. I think what they should do, they should make like a Venom verse movie. Like maybe a Web of Shadows or something like that. But actually, no, that's dumb. Save that for Spider-Man, not for like an Avenger. Never mind, I'm tripping. But I think like for Avengers 5, because they're no longer calling it Kang Dynasty, they're calling it Avengers 5 now.
Okay.
You could put in Doom there, but then you have to build up Doom, But I think the most logical thing that they need to do is get your best lawyers possible, get out of that contractual clause that says only Jonathan Majors can play the character, and then get somebody else to play him, recast.
Mm-hmm.
And I would honestly go with an old grizzled Denzel Washington.
Oh yes, get Denzel in
as
the
Kang.
MCU. Go on.
Yeah, like a
He's so good
grizzled.
as well. Like he's so good, and there's so many. There's so many actors who come into the MCU like who are great actors,
Mhm.
and but I don't think there's been anyone on like Denzel's level. Maybe Robert Downey Jr. I think is on that level. I think he showed that with Oppenheimer. But when he came into the MCU, it was after he'd had a rough few years. So I don't think is there anyone who's come into the MCU with that type of reputation
Yeah,
at the beginning. I don't think so.
Anthony
So
Hopkins, or maybe Anthony Hopkins.
yeah, of course. Um, yeah, apart from him, can't
Yeah,
think of anyone really. Yeah,
I think it would be
Willem
cool.
Dafoe maybe, but he had already played Green Goblin by the time he came to the MCU.
Yeah, yeah, that's true. Willem Dafoe. That
Yeah,
that does. Um,
yeah,
Denzel. Imagine like Denzel maybe like a scar over his eye or something like that as Kang, and he
yeah,
is the version of Kang that Jonathan Majors was very scared about. Maybe like that, and he's
yeah.
wiping out other Kangs like that. That would go hard, bro. Like that would be cool.
Oh,
John Boyega as Kang would be awesome, but I don't think he's gonna do it because he's gonna
yeah.
be in
He said he
Wars.
didn't want to do it. I think,
Yeah. And I
but
think he
I
was.
think yeah, yeah, that makes sense. I think what you just said there was interesting about Kang, Denzel's Kang wiping out other Kangs. That's how you could start if they do Kang Dynasty. That's how they could start the movie. He goes into that stadium and just wipes all the other Kangs out.
Mhm.
But then you'd have. It'd be funny if they could have Jonathan Major's face and he's just killing them all. That would be fun to see. Uh,
There's a lot but I
mhm.
think that's what they need to do. They need to recast, get your best lawyers possible, and just stick with King. But that's not the story in the MCU that I'm most excited about. The story that I'm most excited about in the MCU is Spider-Man 4. Let's get
Oh
into
yeah,
it's being reported by Daniel RPK and other insiders on Twitter that Spider-Man 4 is going to be, quote, a street level civil war. And Jessica
yeah,
Joe, Echo, Kate Bishop might appear. Ant-Man is rumored to appear. Daredevil is going to be a major character in the story. It's a Spider-Man centric story. Reportedly, Wilson Fisk is the mayor of New York City, creates a law that bans vigilantes and then gets supervillains to try to hunt them down. So it's like Batman Arkham Origins meets Spectacular Spider-Man.
yeah. Like that just sounds like money. Yeah,
That that sound. But okay, number one, I get that you need to have characters from the MCU and Spider-Man films. Like, I get it, but a part of me was like, can we just get a Spider-Man like movie with just Spider-Man characters like Flash Thompson and Gwen, or But we have the games for that, and we'll get to the games in a minute. But we have the games for that, so maybe the MCU stuff is inevitable. But I think it would be cool to have a Wilson Fisk try to take everything away from Peter Parker after he already had everything taken away from him by Green Goblin and the spell.
hmm You
Spider-Man's all he
know
has left.
what I'd love to see is them to do leave this street level civil war thing till say they're doing another trilogy.
Mhm.
Start off with what you just said there. Wilson Fisk trying to take everything from Peter, and then maybe introduce Daredevil in this one, then introduce Black Cat in the next one. Have
Mhm.
Daredevil and Black Cat together, and then have the third movie be the street level civil war. Have that be the blow off of the whole trilogy, maybe. But
Yeah,
obviously they want to get Zendaya is a big name. Obviously they want to get her back into the fold somehow. That's why they maybe would rush that along a bit.
bro, I would be okay. So Sony doesn't want to make a Black Cat movie, right? They don't want to use the
Mhm.
character, right? So what if the MCU this would be crazy, and I feel like a lot of fans might hate it, but hear me out. What if Zendaya was Black Cat? I don't blame you there. But
Might have
no,
to
I mean,
bleep that.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Deleted scenes. The world is about to forget we said that. Like, you know. But I think Zendaya, like, well, actually, no. Maybe having Felicia Hardy as a character be different from Mary Jane Watson is probably an important foil.
Mhm.
There's a lot that they could do with that. But I think, firstly, for Spider-Man 4, it needs to be a character study of the character, very similar to how the Batman was for Batman. It was a
Mhm.
very interesting story about what makes Bruce Wayne tick. And it was very atmospheric. You really felt Gotham City ooze out of each, you know, scene of the film. I want that for Spider-Man. Like, you should feel like this is a New York City film. Okay, this is a crime thriller film.
Mm.
One way, like, this is how I would open Spider-Man 4, is you have Wilson Fisk, and then it's very similar to the opening of No Way Home with the news report. I would continue that. So the news report of, like, J. Jonah Jameson having Wilson Fisk on the Daily Bugle for Fisk to say, you know, my new law is banning vigilantes and whatever. And maybe it's like a black screen, and you find out where the movie starts out of Tom Holland Spider-Man web swinging, and it's an actually good choreographed web swinging scene. It's not a I love you, John Watts, but it's not a John Watts web swinging scene. It's like a
Yeah.
Sam Raimi or Amazing Spider-Man 2 web swinging. You know, really follow the camera, really make it dynamic. Also, please make the suit live action, no more CG suit. We want a new tonal Spider-Man. Give us a realistic Spider-Man. The only thing CG should be the eyes. Make it as
Mhm.
real as possible, please. But yeah, so maybe you start out the movie with Tom Holland is listening to Wilson Fisk banning superheroes as he's web swinging through the city. Okay?
Oh,
He's
okay.
maybe he like saves a civilian, okay? They save a civilian who is suspiciously just about to jump off of a building, okay? And I say suspiciously for a reason. Because Peter's spider sense goes off because he's thinking, oh, he's jumping off. But the spider sense is also to warn you, and here's why. Maybe when he's web swinging the person and they're like going away, Peter's spider sense goes off and he sees the person who just jumped off the building, who he just saved, was actually a hired assassin who was there on purpose. And he like gets a knife out, tries to stab Spider-Man. Spider-Man stops it, and now you're tumbling through the city. So you open the film with an action sequence already that has been like nothing in Spidey MCU. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
They're falling through the city. You know, you have some hand, combat. Like, the assassin is throwing elbows. Peter catches it, punches, but trying not to hurt this person because he's Spider-Man. They're tumbling through the city, and then boom, like, I don't know, he like webs into the side of the building, and then Peter, swings away, and he's like, and like webs away, and then screen dark. The
Yeah.
Spectacular Spider-Man opening.
Oh, I like that.
Okay. And then the next scene opens up, and it's Matt Murdock, and he gets a knock at the door, and it's the feds or something like that, and they're like, okay, your practice is under investigation. So tonally already you have a much more intense and gritty feel to Spider-Man that hasn't been in the MCU yet.
Mm-hmm.
A very adult Spider-Man, but not edgy, not forced, but just a natural progression of the character. You're not going to be in Queens anymore,
Mm-hmm.
That's how I would do it. Like, just a crime thriller vibe. Maybe at the end of this film, Peter is at his lowest he's ever been. And then in the Avengers film, you get the black suit. And then you have a scene where Peter's like hulking out with the black suit, and he's just like tearing Kang, minions to shreds or something like that. Like, I don't know. That's how I would do Spider-Man 4 leading up to the Avengers.
Okay. I think I would love that. And it does, Spider-Man does need, even though obviously the character sells a lot of toys, it's very popular for kids, at some point you do need the character to grow up, essentially, and the stories to grow up. And yeah, I'd be a big fan of that. Like with the Batman, I think Robert Pattinson's Batman that came out last year, that is my favourite Batman movie. I think it's the best Batman story told on film.
I agree.
And if a Spider-Man film goes down that route and is like a street level story where he's crime fighting, which is what we all love about Spider-Man, that has the potential to be the best Spider-Man movie as well.
Yeah. Like, but how would you? Okay, one, who would be the main villain, and how would you write Tom Holland's character?
The main villain, I think you have to introduce Wilson Fisk, but maybe not have him be the number one main villain. Maybe someone like someone who has been introduced in the MCU, but we've not really seen him yet. Scorpion.
Mm-hmm.
And if JJ is like in cahoots with Wilson Fisk, that, if for those who don't know, Scorpion came about through J. Jonah Jameson like funding that project that made him Scorpion or something like that. So that could be a cool way to bring that thing from the comics into live action. And they've been teasing Scorpion for 6 years now. Well, 7 years. 8 years by the time this film comes out. So it's about time to pull the trigger and do Scorpion.
Yeah. And Vulture. Bring Vulture back. Make him one of the villains because he forgot who Peter is. So he has no reason to protect Spider-Man. So a pissed off Vulture, a pissed off Scorpion. You got Kingpin. Maybe from Daredevil's side, you bring in the Hand. So there's like murder ninjas in there.
Mm-hmm.
And then you have Spider-Man. You have Daredevil. Boom. Against, like a street level mafia type story, bro. Like that would go so unbelievably hard, man. That gets me excited. But the action needs to be there. The dialogue has to be there. Most importantly, the tone needs to be there. Like, I don't know if you noticed this. Spider-Man hasn't really thrown a lot of punches in the MCU because he's a lighthearted, more kiddie character. That changed with Goblin. He was throwing a lot of hands with Goblin. But I think in Spider-Man 4, he needs to be, not to sound like a toxic Andrew Tate guy, but like a man, he should be quipping a lot more. He should be a bit more, I don't want to say aggressive like Black Suit, but like he's like the PS4 version. He won't be afraid of getting a manhole and throwing it. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Stuff like that. Maybe have some gadgets in there, but this is a more broke Spider-Man, so I don't expect the Stark tech and all of that. An uneasy relationship with New Yorkers and the cops because people still believe he murdered Mysterio.
Oh shit! Yeah.
That didn't go away.
Yeah.
So and then maybe that's why Daredevil is in the film, because the charges were dropped on Peter, but the world forgot Peter's Spider-Man. So I would imagine the spell just defaults to Spider-Man still killed him. That's the new reality. So maybe not that he goes to Daredevil for help again with that, but more of the fact that he's with Daredevil because of the circumstances that he's already in. Yeah. Like, I'm a vigilante. These are charges against me. Let's work together type deal. I'd love it if Daredevil was trying to convince Peter and Peter was trying to be his own person. I don't want to be involved. I'm going to tackle Kingpin by my own. Realizes he's wrong. Okay, let's kind of work together. But Peter needs to be the leader in that scenario. I don't want to see. He was the leader in No Way Home. He should be the leader of Spider-Man 4. And Scorpion, he has to be. They need to make him a creepy, vile, assassin, homicidal maniac. Like, there needs to be sequences of like the light flickering, and you see Scorpion slowly walking on the wall, and the light flickers on the other side of the wall, and the light flickers, and he's gone, and the light flickers, and then there's a tail right by someone's neck, and then like stabs him. Like, that's how they should do Scorpion, like a really horrifying thing. Because I'd imagine, here's how I would do a scene. You have the Hand there, you have some Kingpin mercenaries there. Daredevil is like all like screwed out. And then you hear a more epic version of the MCU theme You know, it's like da 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 da, da. And like you see like Tom Holland crash through the glass window. He's fighting the Hand. He's Spider-Man. He fought Goblin. He fought Thanos. He wipes the floor with them, and then you hear like, you know, like of a scorpion, and you see
Yeah.
like Matt Gargan walk out, and Spider-Man's like, "What is that?" And maybe because scorpions hunt spiders, he moves so fast. Peter's spider sense isn't fast enough. You know, so he's really getting tagged. He's really getting hurt. So you have a threat for Daredevil. You have a threat for Spider-Man. Daredevil has the Hand and Kingpin, and then Scorpion, funded by JJ and Kingpin, hunts Spider-Man. You could even bring Liz Toombs in there. You could bring in Liz Toombs, make her a villain somehow, some way. There's a lot you could really do. Flash Thompson, maybe he has a podcast really upping Spider-Man because he loves Spider-Man, and maybe he's targeted by like Scorpion or something, and Peter has to go save him. There's a lot of stuff you can really do with Spider-Man 4, dude. But tonally, it has to be a thriller. Spider-Man has to constantly be on his toes. Like, this should be a movie where Spider Sense is going crazy. You know, like assassins at every turn. Peter doesn't know. Peter feels more safe outside of the suit than he's in the suit because people don't know who Peter Parker is.
Yeah.
You know? So maybe you could have scenes of Peter Parker just walking into like the bar with no name, and he's just like scoping out the area and stuff like that. Like, you know, there's a lot that you could do like from a stealth perspective there. But his spider sense is always going crazy. Maybe there's a scene of like Flash Thompson has a podcast where he's like challenging J. Jonah Jameson. You understand? He's like, no, like they're corrupt. Like Spider-Man's a great guy. Like he saved people. It's don't believe the crap. He didn't kill Mysterio. Stuff like that. Maybe Scorpion, because he knows Spider-Man saves people, goes to try to kill Flash Thompson, knowing Spider-Man's gonna be there, like a way to bait him out. Okay.
Oh, okay, that's cool.
And Spider-Man is going there, and he's like rushing. He's like, no, I gotta stop that. And then maybe Scorpion is like torturing Flash, like, where's Spider-Man? Where is he? And like Flash is like, I'm never gonna tell you, blah blah blah. Keep in mind, in this dynamic, I have it to where Flash is a major character throughout the film. Okay, so like there would be moments like of Spider-Man going to Flash and being like, hey man, like I listened to your episode, and Flash is like, what? And he's like, yeah, like thank you, like I appreciate it, like maybe a fist bump. And Flash is like, dude, it's like I've known you my whole life. And Peter's like, yeah. And then like webs away, like something like that. And then, so they have a relationship. Maybe Flash is giving him intel, like, yo, Spider-Man, like, you might want to go here. And he's like, all right, thanks, Flash. Like, you know, something like that. So Flash Thompson has completely turned a 180, you know? So then maybe Scorpion is torturing him. And he's like, where's Spider-Man? And he beats him so badly that Flash, and this would be dark for a Marvel film, but he beats him so badly he's paralyzed. Like maybe he stabs him in the back. Flash is paralyzed. His legs don't work. And Spider-Man has to like...
That would open the way for Agent Venom down the line as well.
Exactly. You read my mind. Exactly. To set up Agent Venom. Yep. And also, it's like Flash deserves it, bro. Like you stuck your neck out for Spider-Man. You deserve to be Agent Venom.
With Scorpion, would you do like a not essentially like a recreation, but you know, in the first Insomniac game, that whole sequence where Spider-Man's like swinging through a city after he's been poisoned and he's got to find the cure, and he's like completely off his head. Would you do something like that?
Yeah. I would bring back Marissa Tomei to play those hallucinated scenes.
Yeah.
I would bring her, like, it's like, Peter, like, what are you doing? Like, I died telling you great responsibility. You couldn't even protect Flash. You couldn't even do this, you know? And Peter's like, it's messing with his head. Maybe.
And have MJ and Ned be like, I'm happy I forgot you, or something like that.
Yeah. Like, you know, I died alone, you know. There's a lot you could do, really mess with. Is it a copy of Insomniac? Yeah, but bro, like, they're both under Sony, so screw it, you know. Like, who cares?
And if it's a good idea, like, just do it. Yeah.
I would bring Zendaya back for those scenes only. I would not bring her back if she's a part of the story, but I'd bring her back in those major parts of the story, like where she's like You promised you would find me again. You promised you'd tell me you're selfish. You only care about yourself. You only care about being Spider-Man. Because this movie is about Spider-Man preserving the right to be Spider-Man, right? Because Kingpin outlawed it.
Yeah.
So maybe Ned is like, I'm happy I never found you, like, blah, blah, blah. Or I'm happy I'm at MIT. Really mess with him. Maybe Flash is like crawling to him because his legs don't work and he's like, thanks, Spider-Man. Like, everybody who loves you always dies. Maybe you see Flash of like Tony Stark in Endgame, like you could really use Scorpion to really torture him, but then to kind of break it up, because I want this version of Spider-Man, like Tom Holland's Spider-Man, I feel like has really deep rooted anger problems, like deep in his trauma. And I think like, especially after No Way Home. So what if they brought back Jake Gyllenhaal as Mysterio in those scenes, just like goading Spider-Man, just talking trash. Like, I ruined your life. I did that. And then Spider-Man gets more angry and he's like, enough, no, and screams out and then like kind of snaps out of the, the hallucinating thing that Scorpion does with his tail. There'd be a lot of really cool, that's Spider-Man scenes. But the web swinging has to be there. Classic civilian scenes have to be there. And Spider-Man needs to have a relationship with the city. Like, it'd be cool if like they were like, yo, Spider-Man, play a game of basketball real quick, and he's like, sure, like shoots a couple hoops, like, all right, I gotta go, guys. Like, he needs to have a relationship, a friendly neighborhood Spider-Man.
It doesn't feel like we've seen, like, because New York is more than just like a city in the Spider-Man universe. Like you say, New York's like a character in itself. It doesn't feel like we've had that in the MCU at all.
No, but it's not too late. You can do that
mostly because one of the films didn't take place in New York at all. So, it's not too late. They can, they have a real opportunity to do that with this next one.
And would you have any major deaths? Like, if you're going to set the stage with Kingpin and Scorpion, there has to be some failures. Like, some civilians have to die, as dark as that sounds. Like, to kind of show, like, how dangerous it is.
I don't know. I don't think any characters in particular need to, but maybe like you say, civilians, like Peter can't save them. Like, he fails from saving them.
I'm excited, bro. Spider-Man 4. Who would you, before we leave the subject, who would you want to direct?
Oh. Alright, has it got to be realistic, or can I pick anyone?
Pick anyone, and then one realistic.
Okay, anyone, Matt Reeves.
Ooh, yeah.
Because I just think, obviously it'd never happen because he's doing all the Batman stuff and all the Batman universe TV shows, whatever. But just because of how he handled that street level Batman story, I thought was incredible. So, and then a realistic one. I don't know if this is realistic, but it's another one that's a bit out there, but he's not tied up with the DC side in any way anymore. Ooh. I don't know how realistic this is, but it's more realistic than Matt Reeves, I think. Ben Affleck. Hear me out. Ben Affleck, as obviously we know how incredible he is as an actor, but when he wrote his Batman script, there were people in DC and Warner Bros. At that time that said it was one of the best scripts they'd ever read. So we know he's got that in him to write a compelling superhero story based off what we've heard there. And he's a great director. Like, he can direct a variety of different types of films as well. It's a shame we never got to see his Batman movie, because I would have liked to see that. But he directed Air this year, which I thought was a brilliant movie, one of my films of the year. And then he also directed stuff like Argo, which, did that get Best Picture or Best Screenplays? Or he got some sort of Oscar for that. And that's obviously a very, very different movie to Air. So and that's just two examples of his great catalogue. But I think I'd go Ben Affleck. I don't know why, but I just think, I think I'd go with that. I don't think that's realistic, but
well, to kind of piggyback off of that, how is the relationship with DC and Ben Affleck? Warner Brothers.
I know it was very poor at one point, because of how his Batman movie got handled. Because he was really passionate about that. So, but I haven't seen The Flash. Was his Batman in The Flash?
Yeah.
Okay. So it must be okay because he appeared in that, but I don't know if because that film was in development hell for so long, he just thought, okay, yeah, I'll just do this as a favour, then I'm gone forever.
Yeah, they probably paid him too.
Oh, yeah.
I think so. Ben Affleck is a great choice. I don't know if I've never seen an interview with him talking anything superheroes before 2016. He hated Daredevil. I don't know if he'll come.
Oh, yeah, shit.
Because
he
might
Daredevil.
show up in. Hey, if he shows up in Deadpool as Daredevil, that might be the beginning of a positive relationship to where he might be Spider-Man 4.
Yeah.
That'd be cool.
That'd be very cool.
Yeah, my dream director, I'm definitely gonna go with Chad Stahelski, the John Wick director.
Yes, yeah.
That simply because it's a very similar atmosphere. Like I would want John Wick meets Spider-Man for Spider-Man 4. Absolutely. Sign me up. Like that would be awesome.
Yeah.
That would be my dream casting. Realistically, what if it was Sam Raimi? Like, would Sam Raimi? I don't think Sam's going to make Spider-Man 4 with Tobey. I wouldn't be surprised if they finish his story arc somehow, but I don't think it'll be in a movie. So it would be kind of like poetic in a way, right? Like, hey, come back. You get to finally direct a Spider-Man 4.
Yeah.
And I would love Raimi's directorial, he did a fantastic job with the Raimi trilogy. I love Spider-Man 3. Like, I know people hate it. I love it. I think that's fire. We need to have an episode defending Spider-Man 3. To me, that's a 10 out of 10 Spider-Man film. I love it. I love it. I love it. I love me Spider-Man 3. But I think Sam Raimi would be... I think that could happen if he's not tied up with Doctor Strange. I think Sam Raimi directing Spider-Man 4, but he might not do it unless Tobey is involved, so I'm going to retract that. I would go with Chad Stahelski. I'm so sorry I'm messing up your name. John Wick 4 director. Realistically, honestly, I would give it to Drew Goddard.
Okay.
I would give it to Drew Goddard. I give it to him. He did such a good job with Daredevil. Did such a good job of making the city feel alive. A Spider-Man movie needs that. I would give him that, and then I would hire Greg Fraser to do the cinematography of this film. No more volume. He does
the best.
Yeah, but I need Greg Fraser on Spider-Man 4. Like, that has to happen. That has to happen. I know he's all demand in Hollywood. It's freaking Spider-Man. Make it happen. Like, he needs to be in that.
Yeah, like, Spider-Man has the potential to... That character has the potential to make the biggest box office revenue out of any film ever. Like, I've said it before on the podcast, if No Way Home had released outside of a global pandemic and had released in China, it'd definitely be the highest grossing film of all time. Like, if you invest in the movie and make the movie good, it can make shit tons of money. So go out and get the best people like that.
I agree. And with Spider-Man 4 kind of restarting and being a Tom Holland-centric film, as was No Way Home, but let's be real, a lot of the marketing was around the spiders, right? The spider bros. Spider Bros. I think a Spider-Man 4 needs to have the best people of for the job to create a new story going forward.
Yeah.
I think Spider-Man 4 has the potential to be the best Spider-Man movie ever. Time will tell. But while we're on Spider-Man, let's talk about PlayStation. Let's talk about Insomniac and the leaks there. Out of respect for Insomniac, we're not going to cover specifics of what happened. Clearly, you guys know there's leaks about their upcoming games, Wolverine, their future slate of games and what's coming out. That's also been leaked. Out of respect for Insomniac, we're not going to cover that and give specifics. I really wanted to use this time to kind of talk about the implications of them doing that anyway. It wasn't just the fact that the games were leaked and the dates were leaked and there was pre-alpha footage, that a bunch of nerdy, smelly virgin fans online are saying this game looks like crap. Bro, that game is in development. It's being worked on. Did you not see how Spider-Man looked? Did you not see how God of War looked? Like, all games look like
the exact same at the same point in development. Like people are just quick to criticize things when they see it like that.
Yeah, like if the game sucks so bad, why don't you get out your mom's basement and you actually try to do something in the industry with time crunches, with the budgeting, with like deadlines to meet, and then see, what I mean? Not making excuses, but that game, the game that got leaked, the footage that got leaked, that looks incredible. It looks fire. But Insomniac deserved to share that on their time.
Yeah,
it's not right that the hackers leak all of that, bro. People's living information, sensitive privatized information, deadlines, and more stuff is still coming out. This morning there was gameplay of one of their games that got rescinded in 2 days. Now I did screen record it because it looked awesome, but I'm not going to spread that around because it's like, bro, like, that's not right.
People have worked for years on this and worked hard, and I know it's not exactly on the same level because no personal details got leaked, but saw something similar with the GTA 6 trailer a few weeks ago. Like, that was meant to come out was it 9 a.m. Eastern on a Monday or a Tuesday, and got leaked the night before, so they just had to release it early. And that's so annoying as well. Like, they've waited. I know you've waited 10 years for a glimpse of GTA 6, but just wait a day longer. Like, you've waited 10 years. What's one more day? So that's a similar situation that really pissed me off.
It's toxic fans. It's like Star Wars fans all over. It's toxic fandom. And fans, like, I understand. I had frustrations with Insomniac that I paid over $200 for a game that didn't even have a lot of the features that the first two games did. I love Spider-Man 2's story. I love the gameplay. I love the acting, everything about the game. To me, perfect game. I love it. Can't wait for New Game Plus so I can replay it again. But come on, for the price that I paid, there should have been a lot more features. There should have been a lot more suits. Not a lot more suits. There should have been more of the suits that we would actually use. No disrespect, Insomniac. I'm not using the biomechanical suit. I'm not using the Ajima suit. I'm not using the stupid spider or stone monkey suit. I would love the Ben Reilly spectacular suit. I would love spectacular Spider-Man suit if you can have the licensing, contracting, all of that stuff for that. I would love, more animated suits for Spider-Man. Why isn't there a Peter B. Parker suit for Peter? There are suits that you can actually use that people would actually use. I'm not trying to use some stupid suit like the Red Spectre Spider suit. Like, what? What is that? Like, it's deviant art meets video games, bro. Like, what is this, bro? So that's why I'm saying is, like, we need to, address that. Yeah. Excuse me. Insomniac cooked, but they could have cooked a lot better. But they're doing a good job with their games right now, their upcoming releases. It looks fantastic. The future of Marvel games looks so good. It's not right to leak that. Especially knowing how fans are, knowing how toxic fans are. Oh, this is actually sucks. This is actually bad. Like the fans, who are being annoying about Venom. Oh, and that was a bad iteration of Venom. Oh, that was a bad adaptation. I disrespect it. Insomnia. Like, bro, relax. Venom was the most deadly that we've ever seen in any recent iteration, not excluding King in Black, because that's a comic book, right? And we prioritize comic books here. But that was the most powerful we've ever seen of Venom. Harry's motivations made sense because the story was about addiction. When you fall to your, addictive cycles, it's about mental health. It's not a one-on-one revenge story of Eddie Brock. It's different. If you want a repeat of stuff like that, watch Spectacular Spider-Man or watch the 90s show. Like, this is different. Stop complaining and whining. Oh, Insomniac did it. We had a sequence of the lizard fight, the Venom, going crazy, Peter going crazy while he's sleeping, the Craven sequence of Martin Lee and Miles, to Craven versus Spider-Man, Spider-Man versus Spider-Man, then Harry becoming Venom, Venom New York City, Venom versus Craven eating his head, and then Web of Shadows for the second half of the game. That is literally such an awesome ramp up of events. Oh, it was a bad Venom adaptation. You're a virgin. Shut up. Like, take a shower. Like, seriously. seriously. No matter what people do and work hard on and create new art with, you always have some stupid fucking fan on Twitter with an AVI that isn't their real face talking like they know what they're talking about, or speaking as if they know what they're talking about. Yes, this is not a Venom that is hell-bent on revenge like Venom typically is. And Venom is also, I might add, a goofy character as well. You read the comics. This was not a very goofy Venom, but the story was also more dark. It was the story was about an escalation. Yeah. That's what it's about. Craven wanted a beast. He wanted somebody to finally give him what he wanted. He was lashing his pain out into the world, and somebody finally lashed back. A cycle of mental health, a cycle of violence, a cycle of abuse. That's what it is. That's what Venom portrayed. If you can't see that because you wanted your 90s version of Venom, I'm sorry. Go work out. Go to the gym. Like, go get laid. Like, that was such a cool story. That was such a cool second half of the game. Everything in that game was perfect. But some AVI with the Venom thing on Twitter, because they don't have friends in real life, it's like, actually, this is bad. Like, bro, shut up. Shut up. And it's those same fans that are behind, like, a lot of these hacks, bro. The same toxicity. Fans, you need to understand. Yeah. I'm not being a corporate bootlicker here. We don't have to get these games. They make money, but we don't have to get games. We don't need them. It's like the same way when the Insomniac was getting so much hate for not having the Toby suit initially in the PS4 game. It's like the same. It's like the same thing. We need to stop being toxic. Star Wars fans, Spider-Man fans. We need to stop being so toxic. Fans in general, stop being so toxic. Let's be mature.
Stop being so entitled. Like people just feel like because we have access to every film and movie pretty much ever made nowadays, people feel like they're so entitled to have things, like their way. And because they can so easily just go on Twitter and at the company and complain about them, they feel like they have the right to have things however they want when they just don't.
It's frustrating. It's absolutely frustrating. And people who work hard on these games, their livelihoods are ruined because some idiots can't beat them. I urge content creators out there, please do not focus specifics on the game. Obviously, we know what it is. We know the specifics. We've seen it all. Unfortunately, we have. But I'm not going to continue to validate their behavior. I'm not going to validate the hackers' behavior. If I talk about, oh, look at this, look at that, look at that, that validates new hackers in the future to try to do that again so that their work, which is, i.e. the hacking, to be validated, to be talked about. We're not going to do that. I would rather say, fans, please don't consume that, man. It's not right.
Yeah.
But, yeah. It was like...
Should we... Oh, go on. What are you going to say?
I was just going to transition to the Godzilla.
Yeah, let's go.
Yeah. I was just going to say it was like Godzilla attacking a city, those hackers at Insomniac. Let's talk about one of the best films of the year, man, as we wrap up the show, bro. Godzilla Minus One. Oli, I know you've been wanting to talk about this, bro. Like, give me your thoughts. What you think?
So I wouldn't say I'm a die-hard Godzilla fan, but I'm a Godzilla fan. I've got a Godzilla pop vinyl here. I've got like the steelbook collection of like the recent MonsterVerse movies. So I love Godzilla, but I've only seen like the modern Western ones. I've never seen like a Japanese Godzilla movie. After this, I think I need to check them out because this movie it's my film of the year. It's beat Oppenheimer and Killers of the Flower Moon for me. It's my number one. Yeah, it really has. I think it's such. So Godzilla 2014, I really enjoy. I think it's good, but it doesn't really get you to care about the human characters, whatsoever. Really, like because it was tackling it from the wrong perspective. It was making a Godzilla movie, and then it had these human characters it had to try and get you to care about. What Godzilla Minus One does, and does phenomenally, is it's a human story set in post-war Japan about a kamikaze pilot who abandoned his duty and his struggles with like guilt, and that already on its own is an amazing film. When you add Godzilla to the mix, like it just takes it up another level, and that's the right way to do. If you're gonna make people care about humans in a Godzilla movie, look at it from the human perspective first, then think about Godzilla after. And I just thought as well that the way it looked, it was like this movie was made for around $13 million. $13 million, and it looks better than most MCU movies, which is insane for the price of what Robert Downey Jr. got paid to be in Spider-Man: Homecoming. You can make like one of the best Godzilla movies ever. And okay, where else? What else do I have to say about this film? The way it deals with like trauma and grief and like a bit survivor's guilt through Shukashima's character it just does that so expertly, and then but that on its own is enough of a compelling story. But the reason he feels this survivor's guilt is because he didn't pull the trigger on Godzilla when Godzilla was like tiny, and all those people got killed, and that was after he'd abandoned his duty as a kamikaze pilot as well. Oh, just go and watch this film. Go and watch this film, anyone listening.
I'm gonna spoil it with the ending. Like, bro, that was like
mate.
Bro, like with the rain and bro. But do you prefer Godzilla as a destructive force, or do you prefer Hero Godzilla? Because I see this discourse on Twitter.
Destructive force.
Okay, you prefer the destructive. Okay. Why or why not? Because I'm not gonna lie, I'm not a huge Godzilla fan. So if somebody's a massive Toho fan, they're gonna hate me. I actually love the legendary films. I love Hero Godzilla. Give me more Hero Godzilla. I just love that concept of like he's a hero. That's awesome. Like, but why do you prefer the destructive?
Just because I think this film has made me want that more. I think because of how terrifying Godzilla appeared in this movie, that had me on the edge of my seat more than Godzilla being a hero. I think, because I love Godzilla vs Kong. I thought that was great, and then when they fight Mecha Godzilla, that's just so sick. But I feel like it's more interesting with Godzilla as the villain, and the humans have to figure out a way to defeat him. I find after watching this, obviously I love the big CGI monster fights, but I think the more interesting story is the humans trying to take down Godzilla and it not working out, and having them to resort to, I won't spoil it, but the tactics that they have to resort to in this movie to defeat him. But I think what like the legendary films are doing is fine, but I think what I'd want to happen with like the future is let legendary stick to the massive monster fights, because we need that. We need Hero Godzilla. Like I do love Hero Godzilla. Just because I prefer Destroy Godzilla doesn't mean I don't still love Hero Godzilla. But I think
Yeah.
let Hollywood stick to the big monster fights with Hero Godzilla and Kong against all the other monsters, and then. But then Hollywood also needs to support like the Japanese films, which are more human stories, more real stories. And Godzilla Minus One is the highest grossing Japanese film at the UK box office ever, I think, which is mental. And so it's been doing really well. So if these films are supported, if they're put in cinemas as much as Minus One has, and has been promoted as much as this film has, because it's a great, it is a great film, then I think that's great. So, audiences can have both. They can have the real human stories, but then they can also have the monster versus monster huge CGI fight as well. But I am very excited for Godzilla and Kong and whatever it's called, Godzilla X Kong something, whatever the other one's called. I'm excited for that too.
They're fighting like the big, like, you remember the orangutan in Planet of the Apes, Caesar's friend?
Yeah.
It became evil. That's the guy they're fighting. They're fighting the Scar King. That's what he's like, some big ass monkey that is evil. I don't know. Like I think okay. I really loved Godzilla Gareth Edwards. I thought that combined the horror of Godzilla, like the scary vibe, because we've never seen this legendary Godzilla before, so there was this anticipation of what direction they're going to go with. Versus the Mutos, I thought that was awesome. As the legendary films progressed, it got a bit more and more fantastical. It started very realistic and very, these are threats. I loved Godzilla King of the Monsters. I know that movie didn't do great, but I thought that was freaking awesome.
That's my favorite out of the legendary films. I love that one.
I think that is an underrated classic, especially when Mothra, like the monsters actually had a personality. They had a personality. I loved it. Godzilla.
That shot of is Mothra the one with the 3 heads, or is that someone else?
Ghidorah.
Oh, that's good. Yes, Ghidorah. The shot of Ghidorah on the mountain with the cross, with all the fire going off. That's one of the best shots I've ever seen. Like, that's such an insane shot, cinematically, and yeah. Carry on.
No, so that movie was very like intense, realistic. And then Godzilla Kong went like Super Mario Bros. Met John Wick. But it was a good jump. Like, I think if you're going to do Godzilla versus Kong, you can't go too realistic. I think that was a jump where you had to go more cartoony. And the film was better for it. I mean, especially like Mechagodzilla, bro. Like, that was awesome. When Mechagodzilla is like going to destroy Godzilla and then Kong comes out of nowhere, saves the day. He's using the axe, it's not working, and then Godzilla breathes on the axe, and then he just cuts off Mechagodzilla. Bro, the entire theater was so hyped in the theater when that was happening. Like, once Godzilla was like, Kong like roared, took the axe and went Kratos on his arm, cut it right off. The whole theater was like, it was like WrestleMania, dude. It was so hyped. It had like the characters like Brian Tyree and like I'm having a brain fart. Who's her name? She plays 11 in Stranger Things.
Oh, Millie Bobby Brown.
Millie Bobby Brown. How can I forget her name? I'm gonna get so much hate. Like, she was. They showed those characters like they're like hyped too. They're like, yeah. At the same time, we in the theater are, and like Kong is just going crazy with the axe, slice. Such a good movie. That was cinema right there, bro. That was cinema right there. But it was dumb fun. It was dumb action fun. So I agree there's a market for both. If we have a superhero market, we can have a Godzilla market, like have your realistic Godzilla film, your character, story film. You can have your monster mashup film. I loved it. My question to you before we wrap up, who would win in a fight, legendary Godzilla or Godzilla -1?
Oh. That's tough. That. Well, I think Legendary Godzilla's got a bit more freedom of movement. Let's say Godzilla -1 doesn't. He moves a bit slow, but his like nuclear breath thing is like the blast from that is like a literal nuke.
Yeah.
So I think his power in that sense is probably stronger than Legendary Godzilla, but Legendary Godzilla has the actual physical advantage. So, and obviously, well, we've seen the film, but people who haven't seen the film, this is a slight spoiler. Godzilla -1 does have a sort of healing factor. So I'm gonna go -1 Godzilla, just because of how more powerful his nuclear breath is and the healing factor.
Okay. Okay, here's another question. Who would win? Godzilla -1, Legendary Godzilla versus Shin Godzilla? I don't know if you saw Shin Godzilla.
To be honest, I haven't seen Shin Godzilla, but the design of it, I love. It's one of my favorite Godzilla designs. But I'm off work for Christmas at the moment, and I'm gonna try and watch a bunch of like classic Godzilla movies, and that is on my list. So I'll have an updated answer for that in a few weeks.
It's sweet, man. Yeah, like Shin Godzilla was more horrifying because it was just very. He keeps like metamorphosizing as the film goes on, so it was very kind of creepy.
All right, okay.
Versions of Godzilla and his evolving and stuff like that. But yeah, we got.
Who do you think would win, Legendary or -1?
Legendary beats him up. He's so overpowered, bro. You forget what he did to Ghidorah. He literally just farted a bit too hard and vaporized 2 of the heads. Like he literally above my eye burning, and he went like, boom, and then like the other 2 heads melted. But my favorite head, Kevin, he survived. Remember, he took his head off in the ocean, and that's why he became Mechagodzilla. Kevin survived. I'm okay, But
yeah.
Fortunately, Kang killed Kevin, so that was tough. But this has been another episode of the Invincibles podcast. We will have another episode before the end of the year. We'll try to get that out.
Should we say what we're gonna do for that one?
Tell them, bro. It was your idea.
So we're gonna have the first annual Invincibles Awards, or the Invincies, if you like. And there's going to be multiple categories. There's going to be like wrestling match of the year, film of the year, bunch of other categories like comic book moment of the year, stuff like that, video game of the year, all things, all fun stuff like that. Maybe a few weird and funny categories as well. But it's going to be like an award show type thing. And I don't know. I might wear a bow tie for that one.
No, I will if you. But what I will say, I still think the wrestling match of the year, as much as it breaks my heart, it's still Cody Rhodes versus Roman. That bro.
Yeah, because of the ending, that match gets like criminally underrated.
Yeah, no, that match. Roman was throwing out like moves like he was the big dog again. Cody was bringing back the bionic elbow. Bro, literally, do you remember how I was blowing up your phone? Like right after 1, 2, 3, I instantly was like, FWWE, Vince is back. He's a rapist. I canceled my subscription.
Cancelled your Peacock.
Yeah, I canceled everything. I canceled literally everything. I canceled my USA network, everything. Like I was so mad. But now wrestling is as hot as it's ever been. Like it's fire. Well, with that, this has been another episode of The Invincibles with your guys' hosts. I'm Zan.
I'm Oli.
Take care, guys. See you guys next time.